Hello, my name is Jack Lapham, and I'm the host of the Philosophical Inquiries podcast. Today we'll be discussing three philosophers from ancient Greece, specifically Thales, Xenophon, and Socrates. Alright, let's start with Thales of Miletus, a pre Socratic philosopher who is often considered the first philosopher in Western history. Thales was born around 624 BCE in the ancient Greek city of Miletus, located in modern day Turkey. He was a mathematician and astronomer, and one of the first to propose natural explanations for the world, rather than relying on mythological or religious explanations. Thales believed that water was the fundamental substance of the universe. He argued that everything in some way was derived from water. For example, he thought that Earth floated on water and that life itself arose from water. This idea was revolutionary for its time, and most people relied on the gods and myths to explain the natural world. Thales sought rational and logical explanations for existence, and he laid the groundwork for later philosophical inquiry. Now, let's turn to Socrates, one of the most famous figures in Western philosophy, and the man who had changed the way that we think about ethics and knowledge. Socrates was born in 470 BCE in Athens, Greece, and his life and ideas have shaped philosophy for over 2 millennia. Unlike Thales, Socrates left no written works. Everything we know about him comes from the writings of his students, especially Plato and later Xenophon, who we'll talk about in a moment. Socrates was known for his relentless questioning and his belief that true wisdom lay in acknowledging one's own ignorance. His method, called the Socratic method, involves asking probing questions to encourage self reflection and stimulate critical thinking. He believed that by engaging in dialogue, people could arrive at the truth. Socrates' challenge to Athens' traditional values and his criticism of the state's role in moral education eventually led to his trial. In 399 BCE, he was accused of corrupting the youth of Athens and of impiety, and was sentenced to death. He famously accepted this fate, arguing that it was better to suffer injustice than it was to commit it. His death marked the end of an era, but his ideas lived on, inspiring generations of philosophers, including the likes of Plato, Aristotle, and countless others. Now, let's talk about Xenophon, who provides us with one of the most important accounts of Socrates' life and philosophy. Xenophon was born around the year 430 BCE, just a few years after Socrates. He was a historian, soldier, and philosopher. Xenophon is best known for his writings on Socrates, especially in works such as Memorabilia, which provides a detailed, though somewhat different, perspective on Socrates than Plato's dialogues. While Plato's accounts often focused on Socrates as a metaphysical thinker, Xenophon portrays him as a more practical and down to earth philosopher. Xenophon's writing, titled Socrates, emphasizes the importance of virtue, self discipline, and proper conduct in daily life. He also shows Socrates as a man who is deeply concerned with the state and often engages with his fellow citizens in discussions of political and ethical matters. In addition to his writings on Socrates, Xenophon was a notable figure in Greek history for his involvement in the Anabasis, an expedition with a group of Greek mercenaries into Persia. The Anabasis is one of the most famous accounts of military history from ancient Greece, and Xenophon's leadership and writing skills were on full display. Xenophon's diverse contributions to history and philosophy have had a lasting legacy, particularly his descriptions of Socrates and his practical approach to ethics and governance. So, what do these three thinkers, Thales, Socrates, and Xenophon, have in common? and how do their ideas connect to one another? First, all three challenged the status quo. Thales rejected mythological explanations in favor of natural ones. Socrates challenged the way that people thought about ethics and virtue, and Xenophon presented Socrates in a way that made him and philosophy accessible to ordinary people. They each showed that philosophy could have practical, real world applications, whether in understanding the cosmos or living a virtuous life. Socrates' focus on ethical inquiry was groundbreaking, and it laid the foundation for much of Western ethical theory. Many of the things that you believe now are likely outgrowths of Socratic thinking. His belief that knowledge and virtue are inseparable resonates with many modern thinkers, including modern philosophers. Thales, meanwhile, began the shift from mythological thinking to a more rational understanding of the world, making a huge contribution to the development of science and the scientific method. Xenophon's practical approach to Socrates gave us a different but equally valuable perspective. His works on leadership and governance remain relevant today, and his writings help us understand how Socrates' philosophy was not just abstract, but had practical implications for personal life. Together, these thinkers helped shape the way we think about the world, ethics, and human nature. Their ideas laid the groundwork for future generations to ask deeper questions and search for truth in new ways. To wrap up this video, the lasting impact of Thales, Socrates, and Xenophon has been both immense and long lasting. Thales' ideas sparked the birth of scientific thinking. Socrates' method and ethical inquiries revolutionized philosophy and are used in many contexts to this day. And Xenophon's writing provided a rich and accessible perspective on Socrates' life. Each of these thinkers made an indelible mark on the history of thought, and their legacy continues to shape our philosophical inquiries today. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Philosophical Inquiries podcast. I'm your host, Jack, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode.